Welcome everybody, Bronson with the Epoxy Resin Store. Today I'm excited to show you this video we made about how to make a chipped epoxy floor for your garage. Super easy to do, super durable, you're gonna love all of it. All right, here we are. We're taping up these base boards with some blue tape. I like a nice crisp line, so I'm gonna just use some blue tape and work my way all the way around this garage here, so that as I chip in this wall, I won't have to worry about getting paint on the wall. And so I just take my time, go around the top of my stem walls there, tape it all in, and we'll get the epoxy applied here shortly. The reason that we use blue tape is I like a nice crisp line when we come through and when we flake it. After we put the epoxy on, it's gonna leave me a nice straight line. And when we pull the tape, it's gonna look really, really good. All right, now we're getting ready to prep the epoxy. I'm not gonna mix everything up. We've got about 5-10 minutes of pot life once it's mixed, and once it's out on the floor, we've got about 45 minutes. So I'm gonna use this to just do my stem walls and my relief joints first. So I'm mixing up a small portion in a cup that I'll then take with me and we'll spread on. So rather than mix up the entire kit right now, I'm just gonna do a small portion and hit the stem walls. And just like that, we're gonna apply the epoxy. When I do it, I like to go pretty heavy, start from the top, let gravity work with me. So I'll run it across the top, and as it comes down, I just gotta use a few brush strokes to get it along there. And also get the corners and about 3 inches out in front, so when I go to roll it, my life becomes really, really easy. So what I like to do is I like to do a section of stem wall, chip it, move to the next section, epoxy it, chip it, move on to the next section. You know, I tend to do 8 to 10 feet at a time, and I get a really good result by doing that. One of my favorite things about this particular epoxy is I've used a ton in the past. I've done a lot of flooring, and once I put this on and then I spread it out, when I chip it, the chips stay in place, and the way they hit, they just stick and they don't move. A lot of other epoxies I've used, when I chip it, the gravity starts to go to work and it just sort of pulls. You kind of get like this saggy look in your chips, and it looks strange. So I've never had that with this. I've had it with just about every other product I've used. It's one of the reasons it's my favorite. And here we are chucking our chips onto the stem wall. I use a lot. I don't try and hold back on this. I want total coverage. As you can see, the epoxy is grabbing real nice and giving us a real, real beautiful look. Clients love this, especially when they walk out and they see those clean stem walls that match the pattern on their floor. They just love it. All right, and as you see right here, I'm just spreading a little epoxy about 3 inches in front of the man door that's in the garage. I do that just because it makes my life easier. I'm trying to prepare the entire garage, so when I roll out the large section, I just bust out the 18-inch roller and I'm able to bang it all out really fast. So do all the prep work. This floor was prepped previously. I'll make another video on how we prep our garage floors. It's a little bit ingenious, if I do say so myself, and we get outstanding results with it. So I look forward to making that for you. But in the meantime, I'm gonna come through, make sure all my stem walls are done first. We'll do all the relief joints, you'll see me do that. Chip everything, gather up the chips, and then we'll move on to the big portions. All right, now that I've got all my stem walls chipped, I'm gonna come along and pull this blue tape. You'll see me put the blue tape on a couple times and pull it off. Every time I'm done, I like to pull it off between the next level, because what I don't want it to do is dry and lock that blue tape in there where I'm trying to cut it off and I've got a little piece in there that's stuck and that. So I'll come through and pull the tape off every single time. Helps me get nice clean lines, helps me see my work. You can see as we pull this off here, look how nicely those stem walls look. The clients, they love this. Like, it's the little bitty things that go a long way, particularly with this style of floor. I see a lot of people will skimp on the chips. It's the cheapest component in the system. Go heavy with it. I do full coverage and everybody loves the garages, you know. And so if you want to do that, one, if you're just doing it for yourself, you're gonna have a better looking garage. And two, if you want to do this for a profession, you're gonna have a lot of referral business just by people looking over and going, wow, because there's so many guys out here cheap and they try and sprinkle it around. Do a heavy coverage. Chips are the cheapest component. You see, I don't hold back at all. Look at the chips just falling off left and right, but it looks really, really good, and you'll see in the final product. All right, now that I've got the stem walls done, I'm gonna come through here. I'm gonna take this epoxy. What I like to do is get a lot on my paintbrush, just jam it in that relief joint and just paint back and forth with it and move forward to the next one. And then I'll chip these. It's super easy. And the final step before we move on to the big sections. Okay, now that I'm all done and all the relief joints are chipped and the stem walls are, I take my blower out. I'm gonna blow all of these chips to the back wall of the garage, and then I'm gonna move it all to the corner as best I can. Then I'm gonna go through, sweep all the chips up, gather them up, and then I will blow everything out of the garage in preparation for pouring the large sections. All right, now that I've got all in the corner here, I'm gonna sweep these chips up. I like to sweep the chips up and then put them in a bucket, make sure I don't have a lot of junk in there. By doing so, I keep my chips nice and large. Don't suck it up in a vacuum and then redo it. The vacuum breaks it up as you suck it up and you get these smaller chips, and when you throw it out, it looks more like a dust than the nice round chips. All right, now I've got the stem walls and the joints poured and the chips cleaned up. I am going to pour this epoxy in this 5-gallon bucket here, and I'm gonna mix it up thoroughly, and I'm gonna spread this out, and then we're gonna use an 18-inch roller to evenly put our epoxy out across the surfaces that we're working on. Now these come in a 3-gallon kit. It's a 2-to-1 mix ratio, so 2 parts A, 1 part B, 2 parts resin, 1 part hardener. That's how these come. So the 3-gallon kit will get you approximately 400 to 500 square feet on this. So one kit is designed to cover a 2-car garage easily. This is bigger than a 2-car garage, if I remember correctly. It was approximately 800 square feet. So we've got a couple kits on this, and we'll break up the epoxy spreading according to the size of the garage, and you'll see what I mean here in just 1 second. Now that I've got my epoxy mix, I'm gonna lay it out here. I'm just gonna ribbon it across the 3 panels. There's 6 panels in this garage, 3 in the back, 3 in the front. I've got 2 kits. I want 1 kit to cover half a garage, so I use the panels as a way to keep track of it. So I'm spreading my epoxy out. I'm able to get nice 3 lines across here. As I dump it out of the bucket, I want about equal amount of epoxy in every square, so this is how I keep track of it. Now, once it's out of my bucket, I've got 45 minutes of working time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go along the ribbon and I'm gonna spread my epoxy out. I've got an 18-inch roller here, and I wanna get this here, and I'm gonna do it square by square. So now that I've got it, I'm gonna roll it one direction, pulling through my epoxy I've already spread, so I'm re-wetting my roller each time I stroke, and then I'm gonna pull it through. So there, as you see, it's laying out the epoxy nice and evenly. Now I'm gonna do this 1 square at a time. You could do all 3 at one direction. I just personally like to do it 1 at a time. Make sure that the epoxy is laid out. I will cross roll everything. So the first 3, I'm gonna go the same direction I'm gonna go the exact same direction back and forth with them. And then when I come back, I'm gonna cross roll it. And the reason I do that is I want the material evenly distributed across the surface. And by doing that, that's what you do. And you also give yourself a nice smooth surface to broadcast in. Got to get 45 minutes to work with this. Now epoxy sets with heat. And this was a hot day in Vegas. This was about 100 degrees, 100, 101 when we did this. So I am actually clipping along. It didn't take me 45 minutes to lay this out and chip it, but you will have that. If it's super hot, you keep in mind you're gonna shorten your working time. If it's a little cooler, you might get a little bit more out of that. But yeah, keep that in mind. So as you see, I'm rolling out the second one here. I'm gonna roll it out, and then I'll come cross roll it again. All right, now that I've got the epoxy spread, in all three, I'm gonna just put all my chips in a 5-gallon bucket. I'm just gonna throw them liberally. Like I said, I go for full coverage. I really just chuck these chips out there. I want it to look really, really nice and uniform. So I'm gonna spread it there, and I'm chipping out these back 3 corners. All right, I've got the first 3 down. I'm mixing up the next kit in preparation to finish this out. Do the last 3, same as the first 3, and then it'll look just gorgeous. All right, now that I've got the epoxy spread on that front end, here I am just sprinkling away with these chips, same as before. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 2.